Welcome to the podcast Most People Don't, But You Do. My name is Bart Berkey. I'm the CEO and founder, and you are joining us for episode number 184. Explain, don't complain. The leadership mistake that most people make. Thinking about this the other day, we were in Naples last week, presenting during the day. In the evening, we went to a restaurant pretty well known. And I'll never forget the interaction. Very reputable restaurant, great reviews. We had been there before, good experience. And so we ordered something that is a little bit unique. It was a seafood stew. And I ordered the seafood stew because I really wanted to be able to sample the local seafood that was there, including the lobster. And had a couple of bites. The server was outstanding. But about midway through the meal, no one came back to check in on us. And that's okay. The server was fantastic. But the manager stopped by and noticed that I was not finishing the seafood stew. And he asked, how was everything? And I said, the shrimp in here was terrific. The mussels were amazing. The other fish was terrific. But the lobster was so hard, it was so overcooked. His response was, yeah, that sometimes happens. I was a little bit surprised by that. That sometimes happens. I said, look, I'm not complaining. The rest of the dish was very good, but I got the seafood stew because I really wanted to enjoy the lobster. It happens sometimes whenever they pull the lobsters out and they kill them a certain way, and sometimes they will grill them too long. And you know what? It happened to me last week. And I thought, I'm explaining what is wrong, and he is certainly buying into it. He is agreeing with me. And I thought, probably the nice thing to do would have been to say, may I bring you some extra lobster on the side that is better prepared and not overcooked? Could I take it off of your ticket, off of your bill? Could I bring you a dessert? But he basically then said, can I pack it up for you to go? One, we were staying in a hotel. Two, he just got done talking about how he thinks sometimes it's not done very well. I'm very sensitive. I don't ever want to come across as complaining about anything. I was rather trying to explain to him my desires, my wishes of what I was looking for, being a customer, being a guest in this restaurant. And certain things were not to my satisfaction. And he didn't understand. He didn't embrace it. He agreed with me, but he didn't do anything about it. And it reminded me also of how can we make sure that we explain certain things and not come across as complaining. I didn't say the meal was horrible. I didn't say that the service was bad. In fact, I complimented them on the service. And this gentleman was amazing. And the warm welcome that we got, and the greeting, and the fresh cornbread, everything was terrific, except for this one dish. So I was trying to explain so maybe it wouldn't happen again to anyone else. From a leadership lens, we can also look at that and learn some things that we can transform frustration into progress. And it's something that a lot of people don't do, but we certainly can. It's easy to fall into the complaint trap. I never want to be perceived as being entitled. If I'm a guest, I'm a guest, I'm a client, I'm a patron. I never want to be perceived as being entitled. But when things don't go necessarily your way, what is the best way to explain it? And then as leaders, what is the best way to improve upon situations that might not be perfect? If I'm an employee, if I'm a line employee, if I'm an associate, how can I share my thoughts about we can improve in this area without coming across as being a complainer? Think about how often we all fall into the complaint trap. Often it's easier. Sometimes we look for negative things, even in life or at the airport. I can't believe the line was so long. I can't believe they did this to me. I can't believe traffic was so bad. It's easy to fall into those traps, but it's really better if we try not to. Because when we complain, it activates stress and it rewires our brain for negativity. My assistant sends me a note every morning. How are you? Good morning, Mr. Bart. Good morning, Bart. How are you? And I was responding back the other day. I didn't have a good start to the day, so I was all ready to respond back Terrible. TER. And what happened in WhatsApp is it started to autocorrect, and it gave me two options. The first option was to go with terrible, or the second option was, you know what? Let me choose terrific. I chose to go the terrific route. I selected terrific, and it really made me laugh, and it made me have a better day. Let's think about when we get stuck in the complaint loop. If we go out to a meal and everyone is complaining about something, it doesn't feel very good. If you're waiting in line to check in at a hotel and everyone is complaining, it doesn't feel very good. Complaining feels like release, but it rarely leads to resolution. I'm often surprised. I'll do surveys in advance of speaking to particular groups. And I will do a survey, a confidential survey, and often I will do phone interviews in advance. And if I ask them a simple question along the lines of, what is your greatest obstacle? What do you need to overcome that obstacle? A lot of times it becomes very negative and people immediately open up to me. I'll share with you another example. I presented a few weeks ago and the question was, what is your greatest work obstacle? And the person said, waiting for other people to get their job done right. I'm waiting on other people to get their job done right. Instead of that, how could we have reframed that? My greatest obstacle is a delay when other people are very busy. My greatest obstacle is not being able to seek to understand what other people are going through. My other greatest delay is not thinking first about helping somebody. Last week, we presented to F1 Arcade, an incredible group of salespeople. So part of this presentation and sales training, we give them an opportunity to put together a toy car. And we had 5 groups that were putting together this toy car, 26 pieces, relatively easy to do. I put the instructions up there. And the first team that gets done, they win prizes, they get awards. Second team will win, they'll get a lesser prize or an award. The first team wins. And their first thought is, we're done. Let's go help someone else. They weren't complaining about, we're done, we have nothing to do, we're bored. No. We're done, we're the best, let's make fun of the competition. No. Their first thought was, we're done, let's help another team member get it done. And the second team then helped the third place team, and a third place team helped the fourth place team. That's such a better way of thinking about it. They didn't complain, they were looking for solutions on how to help other people. So the power of explaining instead of complaining, it's a mindset shift, going from frustration to curiosity to clarity. In this week's newsletter, we talk about a hotel check-in story. I was working with one of our clients, doing some consulting with them. And one of their issues when we looked at customer satisfaction was their guests were complaining about wait times. It's because they were going through a long process. And yes, their computer system was a little bit outdated and it was a little bit slow. And yes, they didn't have stanchions set up, so it was queued a certain way. We just had to look at it and discuss and ask what's really happening there. Are there things that we are assuming could be taking place? What's really taking place? And finally, how can we help solve it? The team identified a couple of things. He said, first of all, we need to look at it objectively. Are there certain times when it's been very busy in line? They realized that if they put stanchions up a certain way, that would help. If they engaged with the customer while they were waiting in line, it wasn't a staffing shortage. It was actually a computer system speed issue. It took time. They had plenty of people there to work. So what they started to do was they had people greeting individuals in line. If they could begin to assist them by answering questions, if they could begin by giving them a complimentary drink or a snack and just making them feel welcome, that really started to help alleviate their customer satisfaction scores. And it was simply by stopping and saying, I'm not going to complain about the situation. I'm going to come up with a solution. Most people vent and move on, but the people who pause, explain, and adjust are the ones who lead lasting change. What is one thing in your life that you've been complaining about where it's time to start explaining instead. There are so many different thoughts that we have this morning about thinking from a positive perspective, coming up with solutions, how to brainstorm and not blame storm. I think that was the tag that we were thinking about. It's all up to us. So the next time something happens, someone comes to you with a challenge, one, push it back to them a little bit and say, okay, here's a problem. Here's a challenge. What solution do you have? When I was with Ritz-Carlton, we would always talk about I'm involved in the planning of the work that affects me, which means I'm bringing solutions to the table. I'm not just identifying the problem. With most people don't, we often share in our kindness conversation that instead of simply seeing something and saying something, going back to 9/11 days, if you saw a package, if you saw a piece of luggage that was not being owned appropriately, or if you saw something that looked strange, you would say something. Our approach is see something, do something. When you see something that is wrong, do something about it. Doing is offering solutions and suggestions and explaining, not complaining. There's a few other things that I wanted to be able to share. Thank you to our listeners. You continue to support us. Globally recognized within the top 2 to 5% of podcasts around the world. Just recently, we received some additional recognition. The millionpodcast.com, based on their research, have identified and put us on the list of 3 of the 100 best business leadership podcasts. So we made 3 separate lists within that category. We are number 28 for best CEO podcast, number 53 for best inspirational leadership podcast. We do try to inspire. We try to affect the heart thinking, the emotional aspect, how you're making people feel as a leader, and how you're encouraging yourself and making yourself feel. And then lastly, we are number 33 on Visionary Leadership Podcast. Just interviewed a gentleman last week, Kevin. He is the chair of the board and CEO of Cisco. It's a food distribution company. Phenomenal gentleman, a former Nittany Lion volleyball alumnus. And the cool thing with the conversation that we had, it's that we did not talk about trends. We didn't talk about tariffs. We didn't talk about what keeps you up at night. Those things are so commonly discussed. I thought, you know what, if you looked at his appearance on CNN or on a money news station, you're going to be able to hear Wall Street Journal article. You're going to hear what Kevin Herkin's response is to those things. But who is asking someone like that, what's your favorite number and why? Tell us what winning the volleyball national championship in 1994 meant to you and why. And how is your career, as you described it, not like a vertical ladder, but rather like a jungle gym? Those are the things that matter. And I think that enabled us to go into the Visionary Leadership Podcast. We are asking questions that people want to hear that will help them be better, do better, and feel better. Anyway, thank you so much, Bart Berkey, CEO, founder of Most People Don't. If you have other opportunities for us to engage with anyone, please send us off a note. You can send it right to me, Bart at Most People Don't. A reminder that you are doing great. I'm proud of you. Things are not always easy, but as long as we keep that right mindset of we want to be terrific, we're not going to correspond and deal with mediocrity. We're not going to be terrible. We're going to be good because things are good. Things are getting better. It's because you are doing what most people don't. Hope you have a great week.